Hello, I'm Bruce DuPoit. Coming up today on News Talk, Metro enters final negotiations with the man they've chosen to lead the region's beleaguered transit agency going forward. What's job one for the new top man at WMATA? And what resources will he need to get the job done? We'll ask Jim Diniger, head of the Greater Washington Board of Trade. Then, the role of race in the jury selection process. Lawyers aren't supposed to strike potential jurors because of skin color, and yet it happens every day. We'll talk with attorney A. Scott Boulder.
From News Channel 8, this is News Talk with Bruce DuPoit.
Welcome in on this Friday. Hi, everybody. Good to have you here. We've got a great lineup for you this time, so thanks for making us a part of your day. As we come on the air, Metro is said to be in final negotiations with Neil Cohen, the aerospace executive who has emerged as the finalist to run the D.C. area's transit agency going forward. Given the agency's recent struggles and the drop in ridership that those challenges have triggered, what is the new man's first task or set of tasks? And how will we know if the board made a good choice? Jim Diniger is head of the Greater Washington Board of Trade. He's been following Metro and the board selection process closely. He joins us now. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thanks, Bruce.
What are your thoughts? What do we know? Do we know enough about Neil Cohen to be able to say at the outset that this feels like the right choice or that it feels like a potentially very good choice?
Well, the board made it very clear that they were looking for a general manager, someone who could bring the team together to focus on finances, to focus on safety, to get the job done on customer service. Neil is a serious, very serious business executive, and he's got that skill set.
Is his background surprising?
His background is really as a business executive, and so he's got the capabilities to handle big, complex tasks, big, complex organizations. That's been proven out, and I think when he takes a look at the inner workings of Metro, gets the right team assembled and going in the right direction, I'm looking forward for some big progress.
We're told they had a handful of people at the end. It came down to two, and finally to him. Negotiations said to be ongoing as we come on the air, and I know the board hopes they'll be able to punch the ball in from the 2-yard line, which is where it feels like they are. Do board members feel good about this? I mean, what's their enthusiasm level when you talk to them privately?
Well, I think that they are all enthusiastic about getting a general manager, CEO in place, get that wrapped up so they can pass the ball off to somebody to get it implemented. Jack Requa's done a very nice job as the interim, but you want somebody who's going to be the permanent CEO of the place, and let the board get back to help setting direction instead of getting into more and more of almost the operational direction. And now they have also a big comprehensive effort underway from Ernst & Young, EY, and Bain combined to be able to go through sort of top-to-bottom review of the place. So the new GM is going to have a heck of a roadmap to go forward with. And I'm looking forward to the board and the staff working in unison.
Let me open up the phone lines now because we're on Metro all the time. We're on the subway. We're on the bus all the time. And I know folks who experience the transit agency, good, bad, and otherwise, have suggestions and thoughts, concerns, what have you. So let me open up the phone lines early. We're talking with Jim Diniger. He's head of the Greater Washington Board of Trade, and he follows these issues. He's as plugged into the process as anybody you'll find. But I want to hear from you as we go forward. 703-387-1020. That's our number. We take calls in the 11 a.m. hour. Join us if that's when you're watching. I'd love to talk with you. We'll go to the phones as your questions and comments come in. What's at the top of the new guy's to-do list?
It's a heck of a list. I mean, you know the finances are in disarray, but they've gotten a handle on that. The audit's in. I think they have a pretty good handle as it relates to the overall financial picture. But ridership is declining. That's a huge concern. People are concerned about safety. People are concerned about reliability, dependability, and then, of course, the cost. And so he's got to go through some different algorithms to get a sense of off-peak and peak hours and the costs. He has to look at the competition, Uber,
Lyft,
X. And Lyft. And then you've got the bike share programs and walking and other programs that are out there.
Some people say, you know what, I'm going to drive.
Gas down at lower prices. There's a lot of competition, so Metro has to take care of a new reality. And I would also say customer service, customer service, customer service. Look, people have almost had their back turned on them with customer service by Metro over the years. The stations aren't as clean as they used to be. The lights are darker. It sort of really needs a power wash, but it also needs enhanced customer service. You have to really invite people back in to drive or to ride the Metro rail and the bus. And there are some excellent bus drivers, excellent station managers, excellent Metro rail drivers, but it needs to be a comprehensive look in the place. You have to wean people back onto the system and win them back.
Is the region and its leaders, are we all sort of culpable in how we got to this moment in terms of not having kept funding at the level it needs to be to keep maintenance ongoing in a proper fashion? And I don't ask the question simply looking forward, because to the extent that the past is prologue, if we don't sort of up our game, do we need to get more serious about the resource piece of all this to bring the agency back to where it should be?
Well, yes and yes. I would say that everybody's culpable, but at the same time, there's been a real lack of confidence in Metro. So who's going to put more money on the table? And it's hard to go to Capitol Hill or to the states and the district and ask for more. And that's been a pattern over the past several years. They absolutely need a dedicated source of revenue. The business community has to be at the table for those conversations, because primarily it'll be coming from the business community. We need to restore confidence in Metro first. And that's done by safety, it's done by reliability, it's certainly done by customer service, and then making sure the finances are being spent the way the finances are supposed to be spent, and that's been at risk. It's been in question over the past several years.
How different is Neil Cohen's background from the folks who've held that job most recently?
Well, I think a lot of people were calling for a transportation expert, and I would say that what we've had are transportation experts.
The archetype is the big city rail or the big city transit CEO type, GM type, right? And he probably, from all indications, he brings a lot to the table, but it's not the archetypal resume.
No, it's not. And Metro is considered a trophy job. It's one of the premier jobs in all of mass transit. But there's only a certain number of pool of people who've done that. Going outside that realm is refreshing. Going outside that realm gets you more of the expertise in other areas that Metro's been lacking in the past. And they really seem to be looking for a GM to bring a fresh look. Not necessarily a whole bunch of change, but I expect there'll be change. Look, Bruce, you've got ridership on decline. You've got real financial issues. You've got competition in areas that it hasn't been. But I do believe with Neil coming in, he gets a nice bump. And he gets a nice bump because the escalators and elevators have been repaired much more up than down. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of opportunities with new rail cars, so that'll increase dependability and reliability because you've got new rail product out there. And then I also know that they've done a lot of upgrades on the tracks over the past several years. So all of these will accrue to his benefit. He's coming in at the right time. You'll start to see more positivity associated with Metro.
Anyone who runs an agency like Metro has to be an expert in rail, has to be an expert in bus, has to be an expert in many things that have an obvious tie to transit. To what extent is politics part of the gig? When you've got the four entities, if you will, that feed the agency financially, the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Maryland, the District of Columbia, the federal government, and all these people who have a stake in it, who are offering opinions, who control the financial spigot, how big is political acumen, political savvy? Well,
political acumen is very important, but I will tell you that they weren't getting the funders were not getting the answers that they wanted to get in a timely enough manner. They had no confidence in the numbers. And so right now they're going with a finance expert who's a business executive that has the capability to oversee very, very, very large companies, very large, very complex. He's dealt with unions. He's dealt with elected officials. He's certainly dealt with finances. He's dealt in the transportation arena on aerospace, and certainly he has his hand in the technology field. I've got a lot of confidence in his background. I certainly have a lot of confidence in his skill set. It's this relationship management that's going to be central. He needs to know the local officials. He certainly needs to know the state officials. He needs to know the people on Capitol Hill. They'll have confidence in him if he can deliver the numbers in a timely manner and deliver them accurately.
The last time you were here, you spoke alongside Mary Che about the proposed Pepco-Exelon merger. It feels like there's a significant new momentum behind that merger. It's been given the green light in other places. It was not viewed favorably by D.C. regulators. That may be about to change, or so it seems.
Well, the Public Services Commission has agreed to take it back up, and we're very positive on the expected thorough review that they will do on this new settlement approach. This is the good thing for this region. It makes this region stronger. Reliability is all of the concerns that have been raised get addressed with this new merger, and I will have to say that when Exelon comes in, it makes this region stronger. It makes the reliability of electricity something that we can count on. It continues to do all of the improvements that Metro had been putting in place, the undergrounding, the tree trimming, the reliability enhancements, but it brings us in additional resources. Protection on cybersecurity, of course, right at the top of the list.
How can ratepayers have confidence that issues that Exelon might be dealing with that have nothing to do with the production of electricity that we had the opportunity to utilize, to enjoy, that somehow that won't get dumped into the stew, stirred around, and the next thing you know, we're involved in funding a thing we didn't partake in or enjoy, if you will.
Yeah, there's been a lot of scare tactics about Exelon, and it's sort of the big bad Exelon coming in, and here we are on the cusp of Halloween. It's a great storyline, but it's not accurate. Exelon's done very well in Chicago, done very well up in Baltimore. They're a very good, reputable company, and we will not be paying for offsets that they need. It's controlled, of course, in the district by the Public Services Commission. Maryland has adopted this, certainly up in New Jersey and Delaware, and so we're all looking for efficiencies of operation, economies of scale, a better run system. Bringing the prices down is certainly a possibility. I'm not expecting rate increases. I'm expecting them to provide better and more reliable service. That's what it's all about as it relates to the concerns for the broader community.
In terms of the sweeteners, the things that were added, perhaps partially or significantly as the result of the Bowser administration's negotiations, what should people know? What's in the mix there?
Oh, there's quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of support for solar, and I think that quieted down a lot of the opposition from the solar groups. The mayor did a heck of a job on the negotiations, and she and her team brought their A game on this. You can expect 10 megawatts of solar in the District of Columbia proper. That could power 10,000 homes. 100 megawatts of wind power will be purchased, and so that's going to be on the region-wide. I have to say that not only will they bring more support when there's a big storm, I won't have to wait for crews coming in from Tennessee or Texas. They're going to be here and up in Philadelphia and all the way up into New Jersey, and they'll be available when we have the power outages here to get us back up and running much sooner than we have in the past.
Is there any downside to having something so important 1,000 miles away? I mean, you want your local, I understand we're all interconnected now, the world's a smaller place than it used to be, but is there a downside to having your utility headquartered 1,000 miles away?
Well, word to the wise, if you're going up against negotiations, you want the mayor on your side, not negotiating against you. She really did bring her A game, and they are they're co-locating the headquarters of Exelon to the District of Columbia. They'll be moving offices down from Philadelphia, moving offices in from Arlington, Virginia, moving offices in from Chicago to co-locate their headquarters, and they will be the largest power company in the United States headquartered in the greater Washington region.
Jim Denninger is head of the Greater Washington Board of Trade. Big issues on the table today. Thanks very much for coming in and offering your thoughts. Good to see you as always. We'll take a break. When we return, race and jury duty. Attorney A. Scott Bolden joins us right after this.